The voices that stick with us are oftentimes the ones that hurt the most when we heard them. Now, this might come as an obvious truth to many of you, but I don't think you guys realize what this really means, or a positive way that this can be used. You see, many times in my life, people said harmful things, they said hurtful things. Now, in my life, my mind has said just as many. I said more, probably more, than what was actually said to me in real life as far as harmful, mean things to say. And we shouldn't really be worried about what other people say anyway, but the voice that we hear in our mind, the voices, what they say, that is a little bit more important to deal with. That's a little bit, has a little bit larger of an impact than someone in, say, your physical world has to have an impact like. Meaning the thoughts that are in our mind that we're consistently hearing and they over time become the internal voice that we always hear, that's what's going to dictate a lot of our life. I mean, that is truly our perception of life. What the voice says, what the voice is thinking right now. You see, we're made up of these voices. We're made up of these beliefs and ideas, and that's what controls our life. That's what our subconscious mind is made up of. Ideas and beliefs that we've gathered from our time here on this planet, on our experiences with other people, the way we reacted to other people and their choices, their actions, so on and so forth. Depending on your upbringing and your reaction to your upbringing, many things are determined in your life, or at least many things are set in a direction in your life. I'm a firm believer that you can change at any point. Everything starts with a decision. But many directions are started as a child, as a young adult. Those directions that you start in towards, that has a large impact on what life is gonna look like. In most cases, it is. So to the point of voices, what voices are you keeping frequent? What voices are staying within your mind? What voices do you know will be there at the end of the day? What will that voice say when you do something good or do something bad? Good or bad in terms of what it really does to you. Is it constructive or destructive? Because you can have voices that encourage the destruction and discourage the constructive acts. And you can have the contrary as well. So what is it? What is it that really determines what these voices will say? And the voice's kind of paradigm, if you will, the understanding and consciousness of the voice. What's the voice speaking from? Well, that brings us back to what we started with. The pain. The pain behind the voice. There's got to be a pain behind the voice. That's why it's sticking with you. That's why it's in your head. And let me tell you a story. So back when I was in high school, I had several different sport coaches. Rather, it was wrestling, football, those were the major two. Maybe some weightlifting coaches and that kind of thing at different times. I had a lot of those as well. The ones that had the greatest impact on me were in wrestling and football, and primarily wrestling. Well, these coaches, they gave up on me a lot later than I gave up on them. Now, I've told you guys many times before, when I went through my teenage years, I made a lot of fucked up decisions. I was acting from a place of hurtness, and I was choosing to be the victim at this point. This was my sophomore year. I had been wrestling 8th grade, 9th grade year, and a lot of things crumbled for me mentally. Things were kind of falling apart in my physical reality in certain ways, as far as household normalcy and those kind of things go, and I went with it. I made the decision to kind of follow suit with that destruction. I didn't make the proper decision. I didn't stick with sports, which was helping me so much throughout the beginning of that time. I gave up on it. I gave up on my coach's leadership. I gave up on what the coach believed in me in a lot of ways. I gave up on our interactions together, our relationship. But I wouldn't say they gave up on me. Though they may not have talked to me in that time, but we may have disconnected after I made my decisions. We may have disconnected. We may not have talked any longer for that long afterwards. Hey, or whatever in the hallway. But they didn't give up on me. Do you know why they didn't give up on me? Do you know why those coaches, I would say they never gave up on me? Because their voice was still in my head. Their voice was still ringing in the back of my head. That voice that said, brother, you got something else inside of you. They never had to say that in words. The energy that I felt from them. The energy that said, dude, we believe in you. We believe in you. Part of me understood that they really felt like that. Part of me really enjoyed having that. And part of me also knew the pain behind that voice. The pain that I would have to feel, and was feeling much of the time, when that voice was there. Because if I'm living up to that voice and going after it, it was painful. It was hard. But it was worthwhile. I didn't know what worthwhileness was back then, but my subconscious mind did. My inner true self said, man, I like that. I need to stay around that. But my paradigm, my lower sense of self, accompanied by my own reaction to all the craziness that was my life at that point, well, I made the wrong decisions. I don't regret any of it because it made me who I am today. But looking then, like if I was to have good or bad decisions then, I definitely made the bad decisions. I went down the wrong path, you could say, in those times. They certainly felt like that. And so that's why that's not why. The communication was disconnected, because what are they going to do? Tell me to get right? Nobody listens to that, especially a rebellious teenager, and especially me as that rebellious teenager, having already how much help they had given me prior to this. Why would I listen? Why would I listen to them and go back to making the right decisions when it was so much harder? Because I could have truly been listening to my true self. I could have been listening to the voice inside that spoke from honest pain, the pain of purpose. The pain of purpose, the purpose of being more, of being all that you can be. That voice rang true in my mind. Their voices, everything they said, even the things that were kind of harsh that they said, I needed to hear it. Those things rang true, yet I avoided them. I ran away from them. I disconnected from them entirely, and I tried to not listen to their voices. But guess what? They're still here to this day. That and a few others. Good way, in good ways. We have to. So back to my point of, you can have voices that encourage construction or destruction. These voices were obviously voices that encouraged construction. I listened to the lower self voices, the voices of pleasure that wanted to just feel good in the moment, that wanted to experience in the moment. And it cost me a lot of friendships, a lot of money for that time period. Cost me a lot of mental health, especially. And one of the biggest things was the karma. Put a lot of negative karma out there in a small amount of time, and I had to pay that back. So my point here tonight is to help you understand, what voices are you listening to? What voices are you allowing to stay in your mind? Make it constructive. Listen, you are greater than that voice no matter what it is. Like, you are not the voice, you are you. But the voices and the ideas in your mind are there for a reason, whether it be good or bad. And you have to figure out how to react to that in a proper way. You have to figure out how to go about living life in a way that uses the good voices for good and removes the bad voices. Learn new voices. Allow those voices to be more constructive. Because everything in this life is about development and enjoyment of the process. I love you guys. Have an amazing day, an amazing weekend, an amazing life.